Rabbi Burns chose this site because it looked nice rather than because he could farm in here.
We had a choice
So it
of
didn't
3
work.
places and we chose the most romantic setting.
You can imagine Burns sitting here and looking out the window and writing his poetry. If you want to have a picnic, there's a picnic table there. I've just kicked the bucket. Back to another video. It is Wednesday. It's the afternoon. It's overcast but not raining, fortunately. And we are at Ellisland Farm and Museum.
And Rabbi Burns, the Scottish poet, he's the national poet of Scotland, built this farm in 1788 when he left Ayrshire, and he made his first bit of money from his poetry with his new wife, Jean Armour, and their children. And they have just managed to win a significant amount of money, including a generous sum from the Heritage Lottery Fund, to restore the cottage back to how it was at the time Rabbi Burns built it, and also reverse some of the damage that's been caused to it, as well as other important work. It's a beautiful place. We've been here before. It's about 7 years since we came last, so we're going to see how it's changed.
So let's have a look round. It sounds like Rabbi Burns was the Jeremy Clarkson of his day.
Yeah, quite. The land though wasn't very good, and he didn't make any money from it. So in 1791 the family left the farm and went to live in downtown Dumfries, where they rented a couple of rooms in a cottage.
Burns came to Ellisland in 1788 and he spent 3 years here. So he left in 1791 when he moved to Dumfries, and he was there for another 4 years and then sadly died. But while he was here, he farmed land and he wrote quite a substantial amount of his work, even though it was just a short amount of time that he was here. In this room here, we've got some exhibitions on family life and his wife Jean Armour, who did obviously kept him well fed, and actually did some of the farming work when Robert Burns was writing. We've also got some exhibitions around the corner about his work as an exciseman, so collecting tax. Didn't make him very popular, as you can imagine, and it went against some of his sort of key beliefs that you'll find in his poetry. The building just outside, that's the farmhouse, so that's where Burns would have lived and slept. On the left as you go in, we've got a kitchen, so you'll find out a bit more about what it was like back in the day, to the kind of things that they would eat and the kind of things that Jean Armour would like to cook. We've got the spence, and the spence is basically another word for a study. So this is where Burns would have written quite a bit of his poetry while he was here. And basically the windows in that room look out the back to the sort of nature and the scenery, because he doesn't really want to be disturbed by people coming into the farm while he's writing, basically. We've got the outbuildings here, the byres, so there's more about the agricultural work that was done. And out the back in the courtyard you've got some machinery, very different from the stuff you'd see nowadays. We've got the orchard round here, which is worth a walk along, and along the river there's some nice scenery, and you get sort of an impression of what it was like to be Burns walking along, because he was inspired by quite a lot of the nature and the animals and the stuff that you would see on a daily basis around the farm. Courtyard area it's cobbled, so just watch your step, especially it's not wet at the moment, but it's looking like it's turning a bit grayer, but hopefully that turns the other way.
Fingers crossed. He had quite a difficult problem farming the land as well, didn't he? Because it wasn't very good land. Did he manage to actually produce anything at all?
It wasn't very financially.
Rabbi Burns chose this site because it looked nice rather than because he could farm in here.
We had a choice
So it
of
didn't
3
work.
places and we chose the most romantic setting.
Alright, so let's have a wander round.
Burns recognised that Tamashanto possessed a polish that he despaired of ever excelling. He never did.
giving up my farm. It is a bad bargain. The excise, after all that has been said
I've
against
seen
it, is
a
the business
photograph
here.
of
So
Jean
much for
Armour
farm.
Burns Brown in one of those books in the cottage from the
Dogged by fatigue.
Edwardian period with his
It is
lovely
all the more
hat.
remarkable that his
She's got the
sleep
same
is
eyes as
Ellisland, which
Ravi
is the most
Burns.
fertile and productive.
Robert Burns is Scotland's national bard, but he's also one of the world's most celebrated poets. In the years following his death, Burns achieved an almost saintly status in Scotland.
Interesting stuff. So that's the main reception room.
So this is the granary.
The granary.
Circa 1820 that part was built. So this is the farmhouse.
So let's go on to the farmhouse.
And this is where the bard lived with his wife and a young family.
If you want to have a picnic, there's a little picnic table there.
And there's the river.
Yes, we'll have a wander down there in a bit. I'll have a look in here. This is where we had the mice when we came 7 years ago. I think the mice have departed now. It's bicentennial of Burns' arrival. This plaque in 1988 to celebrate 200 years of him being here. Yes, Captain Ronald C. Cunningham Jardine, another Jardine. We saw plenty of those in the graveyard in Dumfries.
Yes, we did.
Let's go in and have a look. His kitchen.
It's kind of a bit bamboozling to think that he lived here with his wife and kids.
Yeah.
You know, actually was in this kitchen. She survived him by 38 years. That's a long time. And at one point, by the 1800s, early 1800s, 1815, she was destitute and they had to raise funds to keep her and the kids going.
The staff here have maintained the range very well. It's a bit smaller than the one at Gunnersbury Park Museum.
I love the range.
To the right is a Bible niche. You keep your Bible next to the fireplace. And to the left is a stone-lined larder. Probably keep your food cool. An oven on to the left of the range and beneath. And of course the bees and broomstick in the corner. Butter making.
I can make butter.
relic of Burns. Looks like it might be some of his poetry.
Yes, he did bring his hair up. Yeah.
Well, these hand-painted etchings. Old engraving, 1790, painted by hand.
Okay, yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Well, it's worth checking this place out if you're in the area. Only costs £6 each to get in, and it's very informative. You can see what it was like in the day. Rather rough floors. They didn't have carpets.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Carpets and things for the rich.
Cool. All right. Well, I appreciate that. That's really helpful. Yeah. I'm sorry that you didn't watch it.
His office is study by the looks of it. You can imagine Burns sitting here and looking out the window and writing his poetry. Needs a bit of attention, a bit of restoration with the paintwork. I imagine this is very much the original features of the house. You can see why Burns chose this place. Got some amazing views. It just seems it's peaceful. I think some items have been have a way for being conserved, hence the gaps. Hark the Mavis Evening sang. Use of the long S, as we find in the 18th century. And the old style bass clef. And in front is his fishing rod. He's a very sociable person, according to the details on here. He always liked to party. He liked wearing blue, one of his favourite colours. Yes, he could do with a diet. The British Antiquarian.
The poet's writing is really interesting. You can see he's written fairly quickly, he's got a fairly quick mind. He's got his I's dotted and his T's and his full stop, so he's quite organised in his own way. And also when he's made a decision, that's it. He's not necessarily going to change his mind. He's quite opinionated as well. He's also got quite open writing. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and you've got all these flourishes, so it shows him to be a creative or artistic individual. He probably had something of what they call an artist's temperament.
Yes, it's quite likely, I think.
It was probably a bit up and down sometimes.
Do you think he would have been easy to live with?
No.
No.
Probably he would have good days and bad days. On a good day he'd be very entertaining, but then there'd be days when it was, oh no, I don't really want to.
So he was a bit moody by the sound of it.
You've got gaps, quite a few gaps there in between the letters, which shows that while he could be sociable, he also liked to have time on his own.
Yeah, I think all artists are like that in some way.
In general, he's reasonably optimistic though, because he hasn't got backward slanting.
No, it's all
writing.
forward facing,
It's
isn't
all
it?
forward facing, but sometimes it slopes down, which
Yeah.
shows he has a tendency to getting down in the dumps about things.
Yeah, it's like when the farming isn't going too well and
And
he's
yet there
tired.
he's got l'amour, toujours l'amour, which is love, always love. His writing is slanting up, so that shows a certain positivity. So he was a bit of an up and down person. He definitely had an artistic temperament, but I think he would have been quite entertaining. He's got a fairly strong opinion of himself because of the size of the capitals.
As I said, round the corner he's quite sociable.
Yes, but he's not short of ego,
No.
but not overly egotistical. But he has got a certain flourish there. And the S, note it looks similar to the way I write my S, where shepherd is. That's similar to the way I write my S's. And that shows somebody who can be quite musical, because it looks like the treble clef.
What about Tam O'Shanter?
Tam O'Shanter is probably one of his most, if not the most famous poem by Robbie Burns, except for Auld Lang Syne, and it could be set to music. He was a great one for reworking folk tunes, and then he would write new lyrics to accompany the folk tune. Tam O'Shanter was a really, really long poem as well, and it made him really, really, really famous. And it tells the story of this man called Tam. It's not the hat on your head, it's about a particular man. It's a story of Tam. It goes on and on and on.
It's a long poem.
Set to music.
Yeah. Now this little yellow box on the mantelpiece is a data logger for temperature and humidity. When I used to work at Gunsbury Park Museum, we didn't have these. We used to use a whirling hygrometer to monitor, but this does it all electronically. You can download the data onto a spreadsheet, just so you can monitor the temperature and humidity of the room, just so you get the best conservation of the artifacts. And here is a dehumidifier. It's keeping the relative humidity level between 55 and 60, which is the optimum for the objects in here. If it's too humid, you get mould and deterioration. If it's too dry, the furniture starts to fall apart and things crack. So it's always important in a museum that it's kept the level keel and monitored. So if it does go too far up or too far down, you can do something about it.
Another interesting fact about Tam O'Shanter, before we leave this room, is it was his masterpiece, and it's funny that contemporary with him was Lord Byron, whose poem Childe Harold was his masterpiece, and they were both known for a masterpiece, although of course Lord Byron passed away in around, I think off the top of my head, around 1820.
And that is Captain Francis Gross. And here he is here, who was researching a book for the antiquities of Scotland, and he wanted an illustration of Alloway Kirk in the publication. And Gross agreed, provided that Burns supplied with a tale of witchcraft, which became Tam O'Shanter. Right, so that's the farmhouse done. We'll have a look around some of the other outbuildings. Let's have a look at some farming implements from bygone age. Everything was done by hand then. Hello, sheep. There's butter pats, butter wheels to make your butter look nice. Yeah, they did a lot with the dairy farming. The washboard. So they've milked the cows and made butter and cheese. That's a collection of antlers. Health and safety. Opened by pre-1780. Storage area. Westland topsoil, I think Burns would have used that. There's some old machinery here. No idea what it was used for, I'm not a farmer. But it looked like they could do the business. This building housed the farm's original dry toilet. And out here has been the orchard. Replanted in 1995, so we'll have a look in there presently. Andrew Pollock. And hey, look at that. Threshing barn. Yes, this is where they did the hard work. Burnt off a few calories. It's a bit like their gym, really.
Of course, Robbie's problem was that he had a bit of a delicate constitution. He suffered with his health.
He was of weak stock. And as they said when we were inside, the doctor advising him to go swimming in the Nith finished him off. Yes, it's the river water, all sorts of nasty things in there. And this is the holiday cottage where you can stay. Old acquaintance cottage, available for booking. Find out more at ellislandfarm.co.uk/stay.
And the project they've got, the heritage project, is the Old Acquaintance project. And it's going to be lasting for quite some time.
So let's have a look at the river and what inspired him. Go down this way. Roses are out. This is where Burns would have paced up and down in one of his poetical moods when he was putting together the Tam O'Shanter. And this is the view of the Nith. The trees would have been a lot shorter then, so you'd have had much more of a view. They've grown up quite a bit in the last 200 years, even if they are the original trees. It's possibly much more forested now than it was then. Who doesn't like a bit of nature?
All those years ago, the barn actually lived here with his wife Jean and their family. You know, he actually wrote at that desk in that room and sat in the kitchen and ate his dinner with his wife and kids.
And it's all open to the public, so in the area, drop in and have a look. It's only, as I said earlier, it's only £6 each to get in.
But a really nice day in particular, this would be a lovely walk. The last time we came because it was lovely, it was warm and sunny.
And it's middle of June now. It's not sunny, but it's dry and it's warm. Couldn't really want for anything else, could you?
Not really, no. June is not much season. June and September are the best months for visiting Scotland.
You could spend a very long time just sitting here and contemplating, a bit like the monks at the Abbey. Where we can see why Burns chose to live here. If you're racing around on a horse, collecting taxes and getting abuse from people who are dodging their taxes, why not have some nature and unwind and write poems?
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, he was only trying to support himself and his wife and family and provide for them.
Yes, he had to do 4 sets of accounts every day, all the paperwork with the excise, so I think his in-tray was well and truly overflowing as an excise officer.
And he would certainly need a raspberry gin when he came home after a day out collecting taxes on his horse.
A raspberry gin, I think he might want quite a lot more than that, probably 5 or 6. There we have it, Ellisland Farm. Well worth a visit, not expensive to get in, and it will easily take up a morning. Their attention to detail is faultless, the artefacts are really well cared for, and the staff are friendly, and it's a really good place to visit. So please, hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share and subscribe.
Thanks for watching.
And thanks for watching.
Ding ding!
And join us again soon. Bye for now.